What's popping, you guys? It's your girl SJ, and I'm here with my homie.
Jeff.
And together we are the Popcorn Patrol podcast. We have a good show for you coming up this week. So sit back for half an hour or so and enjoy. And we're back, guys. This week we have a movie for you. It's called Oppenheimer.
Yep.
But before we get into that, I just want to see how your week was going, Jeff. I just want to check in. How's everything going? Are
My
we
week's going
good?
good. It's November, so we're doing war movies ish, like military war veteran themed movies. And no, it's my week's been good and nothing new here.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's a countdown. We start shopping for Christmas and doing all that fun stuff. Um, you know,
I've
it's a
already
little
been playing Christmas music.
right. I got to send you my hits there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I recorded some Christmas music, so I promised Jeff I would send it over to him. Let's get into this movie. Jeff, do you have any facts about Oppenheimer? It's still in theaters right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, kind of not. No, I think
You
it's
can
fine.
rent it
I
on
think
streaming
it's
because that's what
finally
I get.
done. I think it's finally done its run.
Okay.
So it was released this year in 2023 at a budget of $100 million, and it's brought in 945 million at the box office.
Mhm.
Christopher Nolan is the director, and
Yep.
he also wrote it with Kai Bird and Martin Sherwin. And it stars Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon. This movie is chocked full of stars. Robert
Oh my
Downey
God.
Jr.
The star power in this movie is
Absolutely,
unreal.
absolutely.
Yeah. I just
Josh
want to
Hartnett,
say
like Josh Hartnett's in this movie.
I know, and I
Like,
haven't seen him in
everybody's in it.
like anything since like, I don't know what teen movies. He hasn't been in a lot of stuff that I've seen. So
My favorite Josh Hartnett movie is 40 Days of Night.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
great movie.
That's the one I remember him from.
If
Is
you're not in this
very
movie, then you're not a legit Hollywood star.
listen, I
So
know exactly. I watched the first 10 minutes and let me tell you, Jeff, I knew exactly what they were trying to do. Right down to the score of the music. I said, Uh, I think my notes were this movie is first 10 minutes is very slow, very boring, very dry. The score is good. The actors are terrific. The caliber of actors in this movie, phenomenal. Um, the actual acting in this movie, great, you know, but this movie I was like, this is Oscar bait for sure. Like someone made like Christopher Nolan wrote this movie. He's like, yeah, we're gonna get an Oscar for this. I know, I got this in a bag.
you could
You
get
know,
a Best Picture one for this. You could get
a
Cillian
lot of
Murphy,
actors.
lead actor. You can get Robert Downey Jr., Best Supporting Actor, or
Yeah,
Best Original Score. You like, and this movie takes place throughout the like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s.
hmm
So I mean, you got the award for what is it, like costume and all that stuff. Like, so
yeah. So let me give you a rundown on the synopsis here. During the World War II, Lieutenant General Leslie Groves Jr. appoints physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer to work on the top secret Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer and a team of scientists spend years developing and designing an atomic bomb. Their work comes to fruition on July 16, 1945, as they witness the world's first nuclear explosion, forever changing the course of history as we know it. Um, let's get into the popcorn paradise of this movie. What are some stuff you liked about this movie, Jeff?
I don't know.
You don't.
I liked this movie, but I don't know what I liked about it. My
Okay.
overall feeling of this movie was, wow, that was a really good movie. But I spent most of my time thinking, when is this movie gonna start? Like most of the, I'm just like, all right, when, okay, I'm waiting. Like it had was apparently amazing at the box office, and I'm waiting for it to start. And I loved it when I was done the movie. I was like, hey, that was a great movie. But the whole time I'm like, okay, when's this going to start? Like where it's jumping all over the place, just
Yeah,
chaotic mess. Like,
we'll talk
and
about that
it's
too.
just like, yeah, but
Okay, so when they show Oppenheimer, they kind of have these flashbacks to where they're in his head and the stuff going on in his head. And you'll see like puddles and like flashbacks and memories and like things he's thinking about generally. And it's very abstract. Um, so I thought that was well executed. It was a little confusing, but the way they presented it was very artfully done. Um, and I knew what they were trying to do. Um, the actors also in this movie, as we spoke about before, are top notch. So I appreciated that. Could they? I mean, a lot of the supporting roles could have been played by anybody, really, but there were definitely some standout roles. Cillian Murphy, like you said, did an amazing job. Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt. I, you know, to be honest, I thought she deserved a lot more attention than she got in this movie. I thought her role in it was well played for sure. So I enjoyed her performance as well. And I go back to Cillian Murphy, like when he was, they go back into his brain and they show you all the stuff going on in there, very artfully done, like I mentioned before. But imagine having a brain that complicated. Like, listen, I can barely remember like yesterday, and this guy is like, imagining stars and equations and how everything works, and just like picking everything apart. I can't even imagine having a brain like that. I mean, and often you you see people who are like that and you think, wow, um amazing, right? But here we see like Cillian Murphy's character, Oppenheimer. You see, he's like this, right? But he's a mess of a person. Yeah, he has like a couple of babies and some girlfriends, some side chicks, some hoes in different area codes. Like,
that was one thing I noticed about this movie is everybody got around. Like
yeah,
he's kind of hanging out with Emily Blunt's character before they end up getting married, and she's talking about her current husband, and then a previous husband died, and he's like, oh well, what was your first husband like? And she's like, he wasn't even my first husband, that was my second husband. My first husband was this. And it was like, well, you've already been married 3 times, and
yeah, they getting it in.
now
They're
you're gonna
putting
get
in the
married to
time.
this guy. And and same with him. Like you see him with two or three other girls, and
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, most of the characters got around pretty good in this movie.
One thing for Popcorn Paradise that I liked is the scene where they handed over the baby. Yeah, it's sad, and you obviously no one wants to be in that situation, but the fact that he recognized that they were not mature enough to handle taking care of a child,
Hmm.
um, you know, it speaks volumes for sure. And rightly so. Like, I do believe that if you cannot care for your child, that you need to be able to find someone who can care for your child,
Yep.
because children need that kind of stability and support.
Yep.
So he was lucky that he had a friend that was able to take the child. Now, that being said, I mean, where was the child for the rest of the movie? We don't hear about that child ever again.
So there's a scene
Peter.
after that where Cillian Murphy and Emily Blunt are in a car with the kid.
Mhm.
But so I don't know if they adopted the kid or if they just
took
um
him back.
took him for a
Like
couple weeks
he
or a
was on
month
loan to
or
the
yeah, loan or
friend, and the friend
something,
was like,
just
"Here, you
hanging
can
out.
have him
Yeah,
back."
yeah.
Like it was just a little weird, a little odd.
There's
Um,
another odd scene too, when they're so I guess the whole time when they're in this little room and they're questioning all these people, they're doing an investigation into whether or not he should get security clearance.
right.
So I guess this is like a character. These are character witnesses to
Yeah.
talk about him. And there's one situation in there where they're questioning him about a past relationship, and he's talking about not having connections with communists. And when he left, he went back to his girlfriend that was a communist, and they hooked up one more time. And as he's explaining this story, the scene of them having their sex scene is happening in that room.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was interesting because he's explaining it, it's happening in the room where he's getting questioned, and she's staring at the wife
Right, right.
while this is
Yeah.
happening. It
So
was a really
let's
interesting visual, not because there was nudity, but it was a very interesting visual, and
well, it
how they
was
come up
a
with that
little
scene
out
was,
of place, to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting it. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, weird. But like I get what they were trying to do, but to be honest with you, that okay, let's go. Can we get into our popcorn prison or do you have
absolutely,
more? Okay,
absolutely.
listen,
Like
the
I said, I
sex
don't know what I liked about it.
the sex scenes in this movie was so dry. It might as well not have even been in there. Like uh, the girl he was having the affair with, like why was she even there? I think the actress,
Yep, Florence
um
Pugh.
Florence Pugh. Um listen, unnecessary, didn't care. She don't make no difference. Yeah, so when I saw her in that scene and she's they're getting it on in like in his head, obviously it's in his head. He's remembering, recalling what went on. Um it was just out of place for me and really not needed. I think they could have cut out a lot of time if they just left the sex scenes out. There was no point. It's pointless.
Well, this movie was
Um
a 3-hour movie to begin with. They could have
this
easily.
this movie was a 3 hour uh movie, and they could have easily left a lot of stuff out in this movie. Like there was unnecessary stuff, and like the shots, some of the shots, like with the scene where they detonate everything, they spend like, I don't know, 5 minutes. I don't know, and the buildup was just so long. Like, just why? Why are we prolonging this? It doesn't need to be long. And like another thing is like I didn't feel anything for any of these characters except for Emily Blunt. Like I didn't give a crap. I was like, okay, these are just like military people um that are, kind of stuck in a political battle. I wasn't feeling it, to be honest with you. I was a little disappointed because for 3 hours, like I had to sit there and watch this movie. And that's 3 hours of my life I can't get back. And see, it's okay if it's like an hour or an hour and a half, like Friday the 13th. But when you're like sitting down to watch a 3 hour movie, it has to be entertaining. This movie is, I feel, in my personal opinion, is made for a certain niche audience. Listen, I saw it described on Rotten Tomatoes. One of the reviews said it's for the intellectual viewer or something. And I was like, I must be dumb as rocks because I just was not feeling this movie whatsoever. Yeah, a lot of this movie could have been cut down. It didn't need to be 3 hours. We could have easily went like 2 hours and a half, maybe at max.
I think what part of the problem for me was, like I said, I liked this movie. I left the movie thinking, hey, I really liked that movie. Part
Mhm.
of the problem with me was it was almost like they couldn't pick what they wanted to do. Either tell the story of how
Right.
they made the atom bomb, come up with the idea, they planned it, all that stuff,
Mhm.
or do the trial of how
Right. There
shit
was a
went
lot of
south.
back and forth, wasn't there? There
But
was like a
they did this thing by, okay, we're going to do the trial, and how we're going to make the trial, how we're going to give content of the trial is by showing you the story. But there was
Yeah.
lots of times where, well, the part that is happening now, so like for example, there's the part where they're in the room and they're
Yeah.
killing him and doing like this character reference thing on him, and a
Right.
lot of the story isn't applicable to that. So I'm not
Right.
sure why they would show some of those scenes. But then there's the other part where they're doing this trial thing where they have Strauss set it up, and it's like a board of associates or whatever, and they're, I don't even know what the point of that is. They're taking testimonies from other people. It was like this, yeah, it was just weird and
It was a cluster
confusing.
F. Like
Yeah,
there was a lot going on and it wasn't clear. Like
yeah,
it wasn't set up in a clear way so that the viewer who knows nothing about Oppenheimer, like, or war or politics, like it was set up for a certain people who understand that world, and I'm not one of those people. So like for me it just went over my head, didn't care, but it just didn't miss it missed the mark for me. This movie is dry, it's boring, found it pretentious. 3 hours of my life I want back. uh, I don't know what else to say, and I just didn't like it. This is a no for me. So with that, I guess my popcorn rating would be that this is a small, a petite.
all right,
Yeah,
fair enough.
sorry, I don't like
That's
it.
okay.
How
That's all
about
right.
you? What do you got?
I'm going with the large. I enjoyed this movie.
Large.
I know I didn't have a lot of positive things to say about this movie, but I left the end of this movie. It was a good experience. I felt like I learned something. I felt like um it was, I don't know, enlightenment isn't maybe necessarily the best word to describe it, but
Okay.
I just thought it was a beautiful story, but sure it had its problems. Um, I liked that they really showed the struggle of him making the bomb, but also
Yeah.
showing, like I said, the struggle of him knowing the consequences of this bomb. Like when they detonate this in some
Hmm.
other place, that it's going to kill people, it's going to burn people. People are going to, a lot of people are going to die, and
Yeah.
to see him struggle like that and to have these panic attacks, I thought that was some good storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you on that last part only. You know, they did a good job at illustrating that he was struggling with it towards the
Yeah,
ending. And it did pick up a little bit towards the ending. Let's talk RDJ, because honestly, he was good in this movie, and probably the only thing that saved any of it for me
he was
is
really good.
RDJ.
Yeah,
Like at the end when you know, he was in the trials and they're kind of going back and forth. Yeah, you definitely see he plays like a large role in the whole thing for Oppenheimer, right?
yeah.
So no, I enjoyed his performance as well. Like I said,
I
actors are
haven't
top caliber in this movie.
I have an issue with Robert Downey Jr. in this movie, and it's a personal issue.
Wait, hold on, is it because he wasn't wearing his Iron Man costume?
Well, it's not, it's related to that, but it's not that specific thing.
Okay.
When he was doing the media tour for
Hmm.
this, he had
Hmm.
made a comment that this movie made him realize that uh playing the role of Iron Man ruined his acting. And it was a comment to me, it was a comment that I feel like if you were to plan on coming back as Iron Man, that you wouldn't make that comment. You wouldn't make a comment like that. Sure, you could feel like that. And let me tell you, near the end, he was making 60 million a
Sure.
movie for
Sure.
from Disney to do those Marvel movies.
Hmm.
And so, that's a lot of money to go back and play
Badmouth
a
it, kind of.
character that you have played really well. But to make that comment, it makes me feel like he's He said his goodbye to the character. He doesn't plan on coming back, and that's just what hurts me inside. Is
Oh,
Iron Man is my
Jeff. Yeah, it's a good
favorite
one.
superhero. Robert Downey Jr. plays him without even having to play him. He just that's the kind of person
That's
is in real
yeah,
life.
yeah. And
And so it's
correct me if I'm
disappointing.
wrong. He's like one of the first Marvel movies, right? Iron Man was like one of the
The
first,
first one. The
yeah,
first
like big one,
sorry, it's the first so
Disney one,
Iron Man 1 is the first movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
right?
The other movies, like the X-Men movies and the Spider-Man movies, they all came out before that one, but they were not considered part of that universe. They
No,
part of a different
they were a
universe.
different direction. They
And
weren't Disney. They weren't Disney, I don't
yeah.
think.
Well, Iron Man wasn't Disney either. Neither was Thor or Captain America.
Oh, really?
They didn't
I thought they
buy
were Disney produced.
they didn't buy Disney didn't buy Marvel Studios until I believe it was right before the first Avengers movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I digress. We're talking about Oppenheimer. Um,
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, guys, for me, this is gonna be I mean, you could watch it if you have 3 hours to kill, played in the background. I don't know. This is kind of movie if like I was sick and I didn't want to pay attention to something, but I want to watch something, I would just put it on and fall asleep. Like it's like when I was back in university and I took psychology, I would open the textbook and just be like, bam,
Yeah.
like in my book. So this is kind of one of those for me. It's a sleeper for me. How about yeah,
Uh yeah, for me it's a can't miss movie. You got to watch it once. It's an experience. It's worth it. I enjoyed the movie and I probably won't watch it again, not because I didn't enjoy it, but I mean, a lot of those movies you only watch once, right? Like it's got to be a special, magical movie to watch more than once,
yeah,
or it's
it's
got
like
to be a creature
It's like
comfort.
Schindler's List or
Yeah,
something, right? Like you watch Schindler's List, but let me tell you, Schindler's List was way better than this movie. So I mean, we should have done that one. But
I've never seen it, so I can't comment.
it's good. Uh anyways, I just wanted to, you know how I like to end these things off, Jeff.
Yep.
You know what's coming next.
Yeah. Yeah. Run, run and hide.
Run away.
Yeah, take
It's
cover.
it's the mom joke of the
Uh-huh.
day.
Oh yeah.
Um, listen, what do hungry Marines eat?
Rations.
Sub sandwiches.
Okay. All right.
Submarine sandwiches.
Uh-huh.
Is
Yeah,
there
that's
Marines?
yep. That's a joke.
Come on. And they're good. So
Yeah.
what one day I will get you. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. It's got to be good to get me. So I'll be waiting.
Well, you know, don't worry. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can feel in my bones what is coming.
Good.
One joke. That's all I need, people. Okay. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast this week. Jeff, tell them where you could find us.
We're on YouTube, Spotify. That's where we host our podcast. And like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell us what you like, what you didn't like. If you loved it, then tell a friend. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, uh, all of the social media platforms. We don't
Yeah,
post on all of them
tell
all the
your
time, but
right.
TikTok, yeah,
Tell your friend and then tell your friend to tell your other friend, tell their friend to come and watch us and like and subscribe because we really appreciate it. And
keep telling your friends until eventually you have a friend that tells you.
yeah, make it
Yeah,
come like full circle,
yeah,
like yeah, then you know you're doing it right.
yeah.
Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great week. We hope you have a great week. And Popcorn Patrol out.